In the bustling Ulu Market, a mysterious woman sat silently in a corner, braiding hair with unmatched skill. No one knew where she came from, and she never spoke a word. Her presence was eerie, yet her work was mesmerizing. Women lined up for hours just to have their hair braided by her. The villagers, puzzled by her silence, called her the silent braider. The other hair braiders in the market grew jealous. Their once loyal customers abandoned them, drawn to the strange woman's talent. Among them was Noso, a skilled braider who refused to accept defeat. Determined to uncover the truth about the silent braider, she decided to follow her home. One evening, Noso hid in the market, waiting for the woman to leave, but despite her best efforts, she fell into a deep sleep. When she woke up, the silent braider was gone. Disappointed and frustrated, she returned home, vowing to try again the next night. That night, Noso had a terrifying dream. She saw people locked inside a dark cage, screaming for help. As she looked closer, she recognized them. They were the very women who had gotten their hair braided by the silent braider. She woke up in a cold sweat, her heart pounding. The next morning, she rushed to the market, desperate to warn the other women. But when she tried to speak, they dismissed her as jealous and bitter. Frustrated and helpless, Noso retreated to her corner. Later that day, a young woman named Uchechi arrived at the market. She was new to the village and searching for a good hair braider. Everyone pointed her toward the silent braider. When she saw the long line of women waiting for just one braider, she found it strange. But curiosity got the best of her, and she joined the queue. Hours passed before it was finally her turn. She sat down, and the silent braider began her work. As the woman's fingers weaved through her hair, a wave of exhaustion hit Uchechi. Her eyelids grew heavy, and before she knew it, she drifted into a deep sleep. But in her sleep, she found herself trapped in a dark space. Hands grabbed her, pulling her toward a large, rusted cage filled with terrified people. She struggled, kicking and screaming, until she finally broke free. Running as fast as she could, she caught sight of the other prisoners, women from the village, their hair still neatly braided. Uchechi gasped and woke up, her body drenched in sweat. Trying to shake off the nightmare, she reached for her purse and pulled out a small mirror. But when she lifted it to check her hair, she froze in horror. In the reflection, standing right behind her, was a monstrous figure. A blood-curdling scream escaped her lips as she jumped up in terror. The market fell silent, and all eyes turned to her. But before she could speak, the silent braider vanished, disappearing into thin air. The villagers stood in stunned silence. Their trusted braider, the woman they had visited for months, was not human. Panic spread like wildfire. Uchechi's eyes darted to the ground, where she saw a wooden comb lying where the silent braider had been sitting. She picked it up, turning it in her hands. Strange symbols covered its surface. A chill ran down her spine. Sensing the comb's dark power, she knew she needed answers. Uchechi sought out the village's most powerful, wise woman. When the old woman saw the comb, her eyes widened in horror. "This comb is cursed," she whispered. "It belongs to a dark spirit that traps its victims, bringing them pain and suffering. Anyone whose hair was touched by this comb is doomed to a life of misery and misfortune." Fear gripped Uchechi. "What about me? My hair? She already braided it." The wise woman hesitated before answering. "There is only one way to break the curse," she said. "You must find the very first person whose hair was ever braided with this comb. Only by undoing her braids with this comb can the spell be broken." Determined to break the curse, Uchechi scoured the market, questioning vendors and other braiders, but no one could recall who the first customer had been. As night fell, she walked home, her mind racing, but suddenly she felt it. Someone was following her. Her heart pounded. She picked up her pace, nearly sprinting to her door. She rushed inside, slammed it shut, and locked it. For a moment, silence. Then, boom! A loud bang echoed through the hut, sending shivers down her spine. Uchechi held her breath as the banging continued, shaking the door. Then, just as suddenly as it started, it stopped. She stood frozen in fear, unsure of what to do. But then, a voice behind her. She turned, eyes wide with terror. A pale, thin woman stood in the shadows. "Who are you?" Uchechi stammered. "How did you get in here?" The woman took a step forward. "My name is Necha," she said softly, "and I am the one you've been looking for." Necha explained how her life had crumbled after the silent braider touched her hair. One by one, her children fell ill and died. Her husband abandoned her, convinced she was cursed. Everything she had known was lost. Uchechi's pulse quickened. She had finally found her. She brought Nature to the wise woman, who took the cursed comb and began undoing Nature's braids. The moment she did, an unearthly scream filled the hut. The silent braider had returned, but the wise woman didn't stop. She chanted powerful words, combing through Nature's hair. Each stroke of the comb weakened the creature, causing it to writhe in agony. Uchechi watched, breathless, as the monstrous figure slowly began to fade. With one final combing, the last braid unraveled, and the creature vanished. The curse was broken. The women of Ulu Market were finally free. Those who had once been trapped by the silent braider spell were released. Joy and relief spread through the village, and the once thriving market returned to life. But Uchechi had learned a valuable lesson. Blindly following trends without questioning them could be dangerous. Just because something was popular didn't mean it was safe. And above all, she learned to trust her instincts, because sometimes they were the only thing standing between her and the unknown. And that's why you should always question what seems too good to be true. Stay curious, stay cautious, and most importantly, trust your instincts. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave a comment. See you in the next one.